Hello, this is Archbishop Christopher Coyne, and you're watching Coffee with the Archbishop. And joining me today is Mr. David Elliott, Director of Communications for the Archdiocese of Hartford. And this is the last one, folks. This one was Bishop Henry O'Brien's, and it's part of the patrimony of the Archdiocese. And it goes back into the archives and probably come out and some of our, put it up on showcase at some point when we get it safely to do so. But this was when he was a bishop. And then he became the first Archbishop of Hartford. So this is kind of like pre-Archbishop. So it's very beautiful. It's got that purple amethyst, which is the bishop's stone. So I thought people like to see that. So it's going back in the thing. But joining me today is David's bringing me into a topic that I wasn't all that prepared for, but I didn't think I could do a lot with this one.
The element of surprise you don't realize in the audience is really part of what makes this so fun for us. So it is America's Semiquincentennial. This summer,
Quinceañera?
Yeah, America is celebrating its quinceañera. So this July 4th is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
So there's the national celebration, and then there's kind of a religious celebration.
Yes, so something, I knew this was coming. In fact, I was just on the official America 250 website buying all my merch. And I got to thinking, is the church doing anything to commemorate this? And I did find through a press release from the USCCB that the bishops of the United States are going to consecrate the United States to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. I believe they're doing it in June in advance of July 4th.
It's connected with Corpus Christi.
So what is that? What does that entail? Well, tell our viewers what exactly that's all about.
All right. First of all, the last encyclical that Pope Francis wrote was an encyclical on the Sacred Heart. It didn't really get a lot of, didn't get a lot of publicity, but it was there. I read it. It was long, but it was interesting. And so that's kind of part of what's provoking this, is because of his encouragement by St. Pope Francis to really engage the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So for me, my last parish assignment as a pastor was St. Margaret Mary's in Westwood, Massachusetts. And St. Margaret Mary was one of the saints who really promoted the Sacred Heart. She had all these visions and elocutions from the saints and from others to promote and talk about the gift of the Sacred Heart and the love that flows from the Sacred Heart, the salvation that flows from the Sacred Heart, the woundedness of Christ and all of that. But there are other saints, of course, who also promoted the Sacred Heart. But I'll tell you, when I'm in my parish, when I first got there, they had this like tableau of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and then what was then thought to be St. Margaret Mary, a statue of St. Margaret Mary kneeling and looking up. And so, I was there. I'd been there for years. And one of my friends who's big into iconography came by, and we were walking around showing the church, and he says to me, "What's St. Gertrude doing praying in front of St. Margaret, the Blessed Sacred Heart?" I said, "No, that's not St. Margaret. That's not St. Gertrude. That's St. Margaret Mary." He goes, "No, it's St. Gertrude. Look at the iconography. She's got a gray thing on. St. Margaret Mary's blue, black, and white." So I'm saying, "Oh my gosh, bad mojo in our parish because St. Margaret Mary's got Gertrude."
Right.
So I went and got a statue of St. Margaret Mary.
You got it fixed.
Got it fixed.
Yeah, okay.
St. Gertrude was placed in another spot in the church, reverenced and all that.
All was well.
So it was always well. So we would celebrate the Sacred Heart, and we had a devotion to the Sacred Heart, and do the litany of the Sacred Heart, and the prayers and all that that were part of it. The 9 Fridays and all of that became part of our celebration. So
you're no stranger to
I'm
what's going on
and it's a
here.
beautiful, beautiful devotion. Mm-hmm. So out of Pope Francis' desire to promote the Sacred Heart, some of the church bishops within the conference asked if we would be open to consecrating the United States to the Sacred Heart, which means, in a way, promoting the devotion to the Sacred Heart in the United States. Mm-hmm. And by consecrating ourselves to the Sacred Heart, we come under the umbrella of the mercy and love of that flows from the Sacred Heart for the whole United States, and try to develop a whole, especially when we're so divided and there's so much turmoil, that we seek the inner peace that comes from following Him.
Do you think it's sort of happenstance that it's taken place in coordination with the 250th, or was that sort of planned?
No, no, that was actually something that came out when they were talking about how we as a church could be part of the celebration of the 250th anniversary of the United States. What the recommendation was made that why don't we seek the consecration of of the United States to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. And each diocese and archdiocese is doing it differently and doing it in different places. We're working here to set up the devotion and the consecration on Corpus Christi Sunday. And
Is that something you'll be taking part in?
I think so.
Okay.
It's also my 40th anniversary of priesthood, so I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So
that's a big day.
June 6th, I think. So June 7th, June 6th. So
mark your calendar.
It's a Sunday. And so I'm not right now scheduled to do anything except celebrate my 40th anniversary Mass in the cathedral, but I can still consecrate to the Sacred Heart.
Sure.
In my celebration.
What a way to ring in your 40th anniversary.
I know.
I know. Taking part in this great national celebration.
Josh Perry, our director of worship, has all the materials. He's putting it out. He's getting it together. I think the encouragement is that every parish should do it in the same celebration. Whether you do it just in the cathedral or you do it, I think every parish would be great because that's a way of everybody experiencing it and connecting with it.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of the spirit of what I've always found so interesting about the 200th anniversary of America, which I was not alive for, but looking back on it, it seems very.
I graduated from high school.
Yeah,
that's
I was going to say that wasn't a subtle dig. It was just a factual statement.
Nothing subtle, Will.
No. To me, that seems like maybe it was different living through it, but that seemed like a time of. Sort of great national pride. People really seem to be in that moment sort of united behind sort of the ideals that America sets forth. And do you remember the 1976?
I do very much.
Do you remember the celebrations? There was no consecration then.
No, I don't. I wouldn't know. I was just a senior in high school. But I remember the celebrations, and I remember the patriotism that flowed from both sides of the aisle. And I remember it was a different culture, a different time, that the Congress was able to set aside the differences that political differences and come together as a group with the President of the United States to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the United States. It was a very, very different time. Today, more than anything else, I think we need to discover that unity of belief and patriotism that we have as Americans under the Declaration of Independence. It hurts me to say when I hear people say I'm ashamed to be an American or something. Sometimes I say no, there's a lot to be proud of in our country and to focus. Yeah, sometimes I say there are things that we've done that I'm ashamed of, or Vietnam, other things like that, or the Iraq War, whatever. But other things, this is the greatest country in the world. So that's why so many people want to come here.
Yeah, we're a work in progress.
Yeah. So I just think the more and more that we can kind of pray for our country and pray for each other and pray to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the love and the mercy that flows from His heart.
And is that what you're hoping to be one of the outcomes from consecrating America to the Sacred Heart? Is sort of this for people to develop sort of that shared sense of, I know you said, an example being Congress sort of coming together, something I've never seen in my lifetime, but, sort of people developing sort of a shared character, or what do you?
I'm hoping that our communities and our parishes will all grow in a love for the Sacred Heart, and the devotion will continue to spread more and more as the great devotions of the Blessed Mother, so that we can, in fact, be a community of Catholic, the seed, the light, the yeast of goodness and of peace and of unity, and under the guidance and under the great patronage of the Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Well, that sounds good to me.
Thanks. So you've been watching Coffee with the Archbishop. I'm Archbishop Christopher Coyne. God bless.